Welcome back to GBN Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Now, a new report has revealed that Chinese heritage pupils on free school meals, some of the most disadvantaged pupils in Britain, are actually outperforming white British pupils from wealthier backgrounds, let alone the white working classes at the bottom. Now, encouragingly, the reports from the think tank Policy Exchange also shows that nearly 3/4 of people from ethnic minority backgrounds believe that their children should be taught to be proud of British history. Well, despite what the liberal lovelies at the BBC and The Guardian tell us, it is black Africans, black Caribbeans and Indians that have some of the highest levels of pride in Britain's past, with events like the World Wars, the Industrial Revolution and the abolition of the slave trade, our previous topic, topping the list. Now, joining me to discuss this is the Senior Research Fellow at Bright Blue, Bartek Staniszewski. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's very good.
Welcome to the show. And the former political editor, of course, at The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh, and GB News' Senior Political Editor, Nigel Nelson. Gentlemen, welcome to the studio. Bartek, let's start with you. We're taught all the time, at least we hear all the time in the media, we should be ashamed of all of the aforementioned things. We should be ashamed of what Britain did in World War II. Actually, we're the Nazis now. We should be ashamed of slavery despite the fact we abolished it. And we should be ashamed of our role on the world stage in the empire and the days of the colonial times. And yet, when you actually ask ethnic minorities, they disagree with that.
Well, I've never heard anybody say that we are the Nazis now, but they should be proud. And it's right
of them Parliament Square, there's a pro-Palestine protest on, Chief, I tell you. Happens all the time. Anyway, I digress.
Well, I think they're right to feel proud. I mean, look at this country. Look at there's so many things you can look at to see. We have record low levels of social cohesion, record low levels of trust in democracy, of trust in institutions, and this is the result of this. This is the result of people not feeling like they belong. Because if they're not proud of who they are, if they're not proud of the society they belong to, of their common history, shared customs, shared beliefs, then what do they have left? They have nothing in common with the person next to them, so obviously they will not feel like they fit in.
And yet, Bartek, when you look at a lot of curricula, certainly within secondary schools, and definitely by the time you get to university campuses, the prevailing narrative is one of white guilt, of the colonial shame. That's what kids are being taught. So are the academics the problem? Are we teaching nonsense to a generation, whereas in actual fact, even the black ethnic minorities, they want to be told that Britain is great?
I don't know if that's true, but in, I think, 2014, the Department for Education published some guidance on what they defined as British values. And I think that included things like mutual respect and democracy, which are great and which I approve of, but they're also true of, say, being French. French people also love democracy and they have mutual respect. What is important is that we identify the things that are unique about us as British people, that we have in common and that are unique to us, that are true of British Indians and British Pakistanis and British Chinese people and white British people as well, but that are not true of the French.
Can I also ask you about a fascinating finding in this, and that is the poorest Chinese students, of Chinese origin students, outperform even wealthy Brits, and they annihilate the white working classes in education. And yet there are no initiatives anywhere, trust me, I know, because this is what got me involved in politics, to help those white working class kids at the bottom. They seem to have been forgotten in all this because they're white, they're privileged. But the truth shows us they're actually struggling.
I'm not sure that's true. So I come from a working class background. I was eligible for free school meals, and when I was younger, I had access to loads of social mobility schemes, which helped me to get where I am today, sitting here. And this is also a representation of a trend that's been true for a very long time. Before this, I've had a look at some statistics. It was already true in 2003 that Chinese and I think also Indian pupils were outperforming white pupils of the same socioeconomic standards. So I think this is the consequence of a long-lasting trend.
So what initiatives will you offer to help you? Because I haven't seen any.
Well, if you look at this report, it's got a lot of great recommendations, and I want to thank Ian and Rakib for writing it, because I really do think it's got it spot on, and a lot of the recommendations are great. One that I want to highlight is in 2010, David Cameron tried to engage in big society, and he gave up on it in 4 years, and people think it's a failure. And I think the crown of policy of social cohesion, it lies in the gutter and is waiting for somebody to pick it up. And this report offers a lot of recommendations, and one that I'm quite enthusiastic enthusiastic about, which I've also called for myself in a report I wrote called Mind Your Business, is reforming the Community Ownership Fund, which would allow local communities to take control of local assets and use them for aims that would facilitate what they themselves believe is important.
You know as well as I know that if I went into Parliament today and goes, right, I've got a plan, and it's specifically going to address the educational needs solely and specifically of white working class boys who are the least likely to attain educational fulfilment in any demographic in Britain, it would never see the light of day, Bartek, because it would say, well, no, we can't specifically do. Trust me, I've tried it. I've been this close to parliamentarians for years and years and years. They won't do it because white boys are born privileged, especially if they're British. It won't ever fly.
They wouldn't do it because what you're doing is the same thing, but the other way around. You're sowing division. You're saying, no, you're different. You're different from those people.
Identifying a need and helping the neediest. Forget about their skin colour. Forget about their gender. That should be an equality-based society, but it doesn't happen.
There's loads of class-based schemes, there's lots of schemes based on socioeconomic conditions, and yes, I agree, we should focus on those, and we should stop importing American culture wars, we should stop importing American race politics and focusing on some of the other markers on difference, such as class. Yes, so I agree in that respect, but focusing solely on white boys or solely on white people wouldn't be the right thing to do.
Why not? If they're the neediest, and you can prove that, which you can, through 25 years of straight data, it's a fact, cast iron bottom fact, they're the neediest. Get a policy to help them.
Because you're introducing division once again. You're once again saying, no, you're different from those other people. You are not the same as those other British people. No, we are one nation. We should be speaking about it as a unity, as a whole.
But it hasn't happened.
Well, it should happen.
All right. Thank you very much. Bartek, beautiful. Thank you for joining us. Are we going to the break or are we doing the panel? We're going to a break. We'll speak to you soon. Cheers. Thank you.
That was harsh.
It was.